Hello and welcome everyone to the world of Hack the Mountains 3.0 and this informative live session. I, Shubhangi Bhardwaj, on behalf of the entire team of HTM, would like to extend my regards and welcome you all to this community based hackathon, where we regularly conduct webinars, workshops, HTM Qubits sessions like this one. All of this to strengthen your skills and help you perform better in the upcoming hackathon. Today, we all are here for our webinar presentation by the phenomenal Dr. Nitin Saluja. He is the Associate Director at Chitkara University. He would be taking this informative session on the topic Creative Thinking in Planning Full Stack. Now, I would leave it to him for introduce himself better. Now, without any further delay, we welcome our esteemed guest. Over to you, sir.
Hello everyone, I'm Nitin Saluja. So my area of operations is into the innovation management, and I'm an associate director at Chitkara University Research and Innovation Network. I'm a founder of five companies, that is Two Decimal Private Limited, GFF Innovations Private Limited, AT Wash LLP, and HWA Technologies Private Limited. So I'm onto the consultant uh, panel for many companies who have got success in the recent past. So what I do exactly is like I create content to the Instagram, right? So what I do exactly is, when there was a let's say Facebook, we used to envision the Instagram. So now let's say there's a trending software these days, for example Tinder or some other software. So what we do exactly is we find out what's gonna be next to the Tinder happen, and what's gonna next, let us say. So right from naming it to planning it to implementing it, executing it, hiring the teams, everything we help out with. And At Chitkara University, and all these four companies have come up with the students of the Chitkara University. And other than that, I've been trained for all this innovation management from Stanford Graduate School of Business, and I'm working as an associate director research at Chitkara University from last 8 years. So I do have a lot of industry experiences as well. So that's what that's about me. So we have a lot of prestigious awards. I've got a number of patents. For example, I've filed around 20 odd patents in agriculture, 17 patents in health sciences. In total, we have filed around 50 patents, uh, where my name is included as an inventor. And other than that, I mean, you can search out Google. You would find lot of articles. We have one award like DST powered India Innovation Award, and India Innovation Growth Program. That's very famous program for innovation management. They fund you for taking the prototype to the market. So that's where we have won it twice. We have won IICDC twice. We have won Gaiety Award, which is Gandhi and Young Technological Innovation Award, which is the ceremony is carried out in the presence of President or Vice President of India, and we have won a lot of such awards. You can find out all on internet about me. Thank you so much, Shivangi, for giving me an opportunity to introduce myself. Thank you. Over to you.
So, welcome very much, sir. So, would you like to start with your presentation now?
I would like to play this video. I mean, I've asked you to play a video before the presentation.
So, so the video is playing, I suppose.
Shivangi, we can start with the presentation. Shivangi, so
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go on.
yeah, yeah, the कटी हुई क्यों आ रही है? It's not okay. Thank you, Shivangi. So let's start our topic for today. Today's discussion is planning the full stack in a creative way. So we're gonna discuss 4 steps to plan any full stack products or projects in a creative way. So you can expect from this session, as you know, there are two things actually. One is an entrepreneurship, the other is job. That's why you might be watching this live session or a video, because you want to learn how to get a creative. Why do you want to plan your full stack in a creative way? Because you want to be a better entrepreneur. The chances of the success should go high, or else you might want to get a good job placement, and that's why you should have a good knowledge of how to plan the full stack in a creative way. So for that, I give an activity to you. I mean, what do you observe in this particular picture? So since there's the okay, so there's like with this picture, you can see there are two people. One is like has not planned it well, so there's no. The first person in red suit. I mean, the person is sitting idle, and he has lost all the hopes, and because he has not planned it well. So the second person you can think is has created an invention, though he's not successful so far, but he is enthusiastic and marching towards the goal. That's what That's what I wanted to exploit it here. But then that's why you need to, let us say, if you relate this particular slide with the previous slide, you would find out that if you plan your full stack well, so you would get this front and back end mobile apps, all desktop apps, and the machine learning, all getting into the JavaScript, and you've planned it in a way like all are going towards one aim and one objective, and we're going to discuss it to one example. So first thing is, let us say, when we planned it, so it was like, and we have come up with few steps which were invention, and when we planned it through some tools, and then we put it into the commercial world, that is called innovation. So innovation versus invention, innovation is equal to invention plus commercial exploitation. So to give you a more overview of what innovation is and what is invention, let us see this picture actually. So when you see this picture, it is showing that there is a women using bucket to give this port height, so that she is comfortable taking out the water in the jar and put it into the glass. And then you can see people are passing by. It's a uh, summer time, and this is a good commercial exploitation of some invention. But she uh, why I'm calling it the invention, because she's using bucket for multiple usages. For example, she might has to wash the glasses, so she can use this bucket to clean the glasses and then wash the glasses, and then she's also using it to give it a height, and also it is like to enable this bucket with the wastage of the water. I mean, she doesn't need to split it nearby. So but this is called invention, but there's some missing commercial exploitation into this. I give an example of WhatsApp is very popular nowadays actually for instant messaging app. Then you can use it to send a message the same way Hike was introduced, but Hike could not commercially exploit the uh, invention which they did actually. So Hike had an advantage that it was allowing you to use the emojis actually, and then the same was copied by I won't call it copy. I mean, the same was implemented by executed well by WhatsApp, by taking the invention to the innovation. So this was the invention. I mentioned it as an invention because it's a very crude way of implementing your idea. So, would you buy this idea? I mean, how many people are buying from here? Only some. There's one person who is buying it. I mean, there might be a lot of thirsty people who are there to who might want to buy the water, but they might be preferring the bottles or some other ways to get the water. They are not preferring her. So, if let us say we go with this. This is a invention plus commercial exploitation of the other ideas. So that's called innovation. So this is the difference between invention and innovation. When we commercially exploit it, this is much better. It feels more hygienic. It has all the multi. It's a. I mean, you need not to carry all the pots onto your head to the place. I mean, you can just ride it, and it becomes easier for them to sell the water. They can also use this particular rickshaw for lemonade or some other stuff. So that's why people are buying from these places rather than getting the invention done. So this is what this is activity. For example, we are going from Orkut to Facebook to Instagram. It is important to envision what's going to be the future, so that you can plan your full stack accordingly. So Orkut was a simple implementation utilizing lesser part of the stacks, lesser components of the stacks, yeah, and then it was offering a limited features. So they carried out design thinking or a creative thinking in a way like Facebook has created a better interactive app than the Orkut, and it was easier to use, so that more public could get into the Facebook than the Orkut, and Orkut got obsolete. But then when we were using the Facebook, then there was a need felt for specifically for the videos. Actually, was video which was trending, and data rate was improving for all the mobile users as well as the internet users. So people think, and they started thinking towards the next creative stuff. So how to think creative? I mean, the most of the time we get stuck up with something like how to think in an innovative manner. So shifted to Instagram. So how did they come from Orkut to Facebook and then Facebook to Instagram? That's what exactly we're gonna discuss today. And there are two things actually. Then we're gonna talk about a lot of inventions which get into the one innovation. So Facebook had one. Let us say it had some inventions. Then Instagram had an invention that. They came up with the filters, and you could put better pictures of you. So that was an invention which was included in Instagram. Facebook was more intelligent than the Orkut, so it was suggesting you the post which you might want to see, and then it was more secure than the Orkut. There were two inventions which I've already made. There are a lot of inventions in the Facebook which in a combined way came up with an innovation called Facebook, which is a social media platform. So this shifts come up with a new innovation, but with a small inventions. All these inventions which we see includes the utilization of more and more components of this full stack. So let us say you are coming up with a website just by the HTML and CSS, and then you start using JavaScript, and it becomes more interactive. Then some libraries like React.js, where you can dedicate more towards the product, and then start using Express and Node, and you finally come up with a product which is quite unique. And then because you have spent most of the time developing the product in a creative way, you knew the problems, and then you came up with a solution which was addressing the problems. So discuss about it. So then when most of the time when we talk about these kind of things, you start you try finding out what should be the right direction for the initialization. Most of the students come up with a problem that how should I start my ideation? I mean, how should I thinking about idea? What idea should I come up with? Where to start thinking with? So these are like you need some directions. But I will say, when you do have a directions for initialization, you are not creative. So it should be a, there are no rules to start thinking, but there are some processes or the systems in place which can help you think in a very free way. So that's what we're going to discuss today for ideation. So first of all, might have remembered this Guru Chela thing. So first thing you need to do is challenge the existing assumptions. For example, we're gonna get back to the example of Orkut. So what Orkut didn't have, what Facebook have, or those who are not, well aware of the Orkut. So I'm gonna consider an example of Facebook to Instagram transition more than Orkut to Facebook transition. So you have seen Facebook. Facebook was getting, I mean, little. You are seeing the same thing every day, and you started getting fed up with the Facebook a bit. So we started thinking there should be something innovative. So someone might have thought, okay, let's come up with some filters maybe to start with, and then there must be a platform where you can post the videos in a better way than the Facebook offers. And there was an autoplay option. There was a little change in the full stack actually. When you had a implementation, same thing to be implemented in a full stack manner, you can just change a bit of the code, and you can just get from one code to another code. And yes, obviously there were some changes in the other structure, but the idea is almost the same, but with a little bit of the changes. And then you came up with a little bit of the inventions added up into the what Facebook was offering, came up with a new innovation which was exploiting the commercial problems of the invention, the Facebook. That's why Instagram got popular, and now the Facebook started getting obsolete, at least for the youngsters. Actually, I'm not saying Facebook is getting obsolete for everyone, but youngsters have moved from Facebook. The crowd has moved, a bit of the crowd has moved from Facebook to the Instagram, and then they introduced Reels. That was one thing, that was the one more invention that was added up into a new innovations on Instagram, a new version of the Instagram, which was a new innovation actually when they commercially exploited it. That's the innovation. So how did they start? They started thinking in a reverse direction. How do we think in a reverse direction? For example, what Facebook was doing, it was posting the video. Those who wants to play the video, they can play the video. But let us say think reverse. Think reverse, that you can post the video, but it would play at its own. I mean, you don't have to just put the play button. The same way, I do remember a little bit about the Google as well. Let us say, when you type something in the Google search, you don't have to move your mouse to get onto the Google search and then click it. No, you just have to enter, and the Google search would show the result. You open google.com on your in a web view, and you would find that there are two options: Google search and tools. Those two options are there. You might go without entering. What you can do is you might go to through your mouse, go to the search option, and can click on it to get the. So this was a small things, which gives you a better user feeling actually. So the same way in Instagram also there was a better user feeling actually. So few things which you have hardly noted but really matters a lot. So that's why, I mean, that small things come up from the reverse thinking actually. We're going to discuss about few examples of the reverse thinking. For example, Tinder to happen. I'm not sure, I mean, if this happens, spelling is correct. Okay. So what people do, they check out people online, right? So let us say, what this they started thinking, what if, let us say people are getting, little fed up with one, or with the, finding out the people online. Let's see, how we can interact with people going offline. So they come, happen where they were crossing, and the offline came into the picture. They swipe right or left to choose people. So there's no need to, swipe left or right. I mean, you might have got people, if you are with interest, when you're crossing each other. What next? There could be next thing is, we're gonna talk about how to name it, how they might have named it. We're gonna talk about that. First thing which you need to understand is what could be the next. Next could be something like, in a Tinder, like, you have to find out people, and you have see lot of people actually. It might be, some suggestions, and this might suggest you that, these four people you might like, and you just have to uh, do it, right? So this is what you might see in the next few years, and then you might see, ended up here? No. I mean, this could be, reverse thinking led us to think about, like, what's going to be the future. So, what going to be the future might be, like, you might have, like, it ended up here in the Tinder. Let us say you have dated, and that's where, Tinder ends up. You might get involved after that as well. So you might think that, it is not ending up. Reverse thinking, actually. So for Tinder, it ends up after you have met, right? So you don't have to, you're gonna get into the dating, might not be using Tinder, right? So or you might want to get to the next girl until, the loop goes on until you find the best girl for you, might be, or best boys for you. I mean, that what happens actually. And happen also, they missed out with one thing actually. They started thinking reverse, but they missed out a lot of factors which could help them commercially exploit the market in a in a better way. That's what we're gonna discuss about today. So the second first rule is think reverse. Let us say you might have an example of some particular social media app. What is not there in Instagram? What's going to happen next, right? So this might be, we are interacting. Uh, I'm talking about this thinking reverse. So which may also make sense. I mean, thinking reverse means which also makes sense actually. So on Instagram, there's a limit of the interaction actually. So there's a live thing which has come up on Instagram. I agree. But what's gonna next? For example, WhatsApp is slowly and slowly taken up by the Telegram. Okay, so this way, Instagram might end up getting some kind of a professionalism into the picture. So you might get bored with Instagram someday as well, and then comes the professionalism, and you see, there's some merge up of professional things into the professional ethics into this, or else if you go for the entertainment, this might get into some virtual reality kind of a things, and then there might be some release of movies on Instagram. You might see it, right? So these kind of things. There's still, I mean, thinking it reverse means there's no movies, which you can see on Instagram. Might be seeing, some movies being released on Instagram, or else, you're gonna have some interactive things like you do have on Harry Potter, right? So you're watching a video, you can interact on that video later on, maybe. I mean, there might be, n number of opportunities there, which is like, you might see. So you have to get small things. You have to list the features of Instagram and think in a reverse way. For example, you do have a filter, but I might not want to use filters, still wants to look better. I mean, that makes sense actually. So thinking reverse would give you a more better idea than, how to ideate. So this is what exactly. So think weird. The second thing is think weird. Try linking unrelated concepts. How weirdness can be involved, right? So you need to think in a unrelated. For example, you relate agriculture with the computers, right? So you relate agriculture with the health. So for example, in the full stack, uh, thing, or in a software thing in a broader way, what we can say is, if we let us say try to relate Tinder with the Shadi.com, might be someday you see, Shadi.com. I'm giving out the free ideas to all these people. And I mean, that's how its future would look like. Might have, Tinder has implemented something like Shadi.com, or Shadi.com might have taken up some concept of the Tinder, so that, you just have a swipe left, right options in Shadi.com, and you have dated, and it's not ending up here. I mean, and then, the profiles are shifted to Shadi.com, is forwarded to your parents, and then you are getting married, and Tinder has got one more success story added up to their profile. And that doesn't require, I mean, with the invent of, all this full stack development stuff, right? So you just have to make some changes in different components and more components. For example, earlier we were using SQL, and it was, myself was taking a lot of time in, writing SQL codes, but or scripts. But now, with the adding up a component like MongoDB, it has eased my life quite well. So you need to plan the task which you want to perform. Then you need to see which component requires most of the upgradation in the stuff. Then you see, front end. Let us say earlier we used to use HTML and CSS. There were some limitations, and then, you move to React, and then, things get pretty easy for us to implement the stuff, whatever, creative stuff we have thought of. So now, you might have seen the lens card. So this is like, HTML plus CSS plus JavaScript. But, when we add AI and you start feeling whether your variable is comfortable or not. One of my team who has won some of the hackathon earlier, actually, they have got, they're in process of getting it copywriters. They're trying to protect their IP for this. But how did they do it? I mean, they were trying to find out if, let us say, you wear this glass, it just gives you a look. See, I mean, Lenscard so far gives you a look. How it feels, whether it's comfortable, what matters a lot. I mean, two things matters a lot to you. One thing is, my team is very happy that, I'm discussing their idea, or I'm not sure I've disclosed their idea to the public, but still, you know, you can feel comfort. Might be that. I mean, that's not included in Lenscard. So how did I think about it? Let us say, I mean, we shortlisted all the features, tried to relate, CAD and CAM into this, and started using the invention of AR and VR, AI, all these inventions into fitted into this particular area, and found out some innovation which could help out. Companies like Lenskart. So I give you. I mean, though we don't have, much of the participants connected to us, so I'm leaving out this activity. So think reverse. For example, if I would have thought of coming up with a faster horse, I would have ended up getting up into the horse only. So thinking reverse has helped. It should not be someone like animal. It should be something else. That's how I came up with. Okay, it might be the wheels. It might work. So that's how we came up with the car. So thinking reverse always help. So otherwise, if you don't think reverse, you would say that, okay, let's come up with faster Instagram, let's come up with faster lens cart, let's add up more frames into the lens cart, let's add up this feature, which might not be, that creative, which can gives you a change is by nature. I mean, it's a law of nature actually. Change is always liked by people. So if you come up with something innovative for me, I would definitely love it, right? So love it. So this way, you might have to think reverse. Okay. So it's about myself. I've already introduced myself. I'm a part of Chitkara University, and specifically, I'm working as an associate director. I'm a founder of all these companies. I'm alumni of these places. You can join me on LinkedIn. Okay. So you have not added up slide for the. No, it's the end of the slide. So again, how to name this? I mean, it's important to understand, how to name the. So I can share one more presentation on this to name it. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll gonna show you one more slide. How to name it creatively. First of all, for example, why naming is important actually. We all have names. If I say or I mean, I just say guy one, guy two, guy three, guy four, girl one, girl two, girl three, girl four. It's not gonna work out. So we're gonna have some unique name for each product. If you're not going to name it, it's gonna create a lot of issues. So from the first day when you start doing some projects in any of the things, you have to name it. And just a second, I have a one PPT loading up. So we start with this. Okay. So I give you one more example of invention versus innovation. So I some days say that you buy this idea from me that you can put all these washers on your cooker and you pay me 1,000 rupees. Will you pay me 1,000 rupees for this idea? No, you can copy it, right? You would copy it and you start using it without paying me anything. But rather than doing this, if I come up with this product, right, rather than giving these suggestions or ideas like this, I say, okay, I'm selling out this, you can buy it at 2,000 rupees. You would surely buy this out rather than coming up, trying out this idea as per my. So this is invention and this is innovation. This is one thing I wanted to clarify, right? And then come to the next part. Yes, so this is the final activity. So these all things matter in entrepreneurship, or else when you are carrying out projects and you say, you put in your CV, okay, you have come up with something like for example, a social media app. That doesn't work out, but it might have some good names, right? So rather than calling, how do we come up with the good names? Rather than calling a milk, can we call it the cereal water? Yes. So for example, the third one is my favorite one. So rather than calling it the finger chips, you can call it the potato sticks. This is how you name some product actually. So rather than the gloves, that can be called finger pens, right? So rather than doing this, I mean, it gives you an idea what you are doing. Also, it's a unique name. It gives you a SEO actually. So for any stack product, you're gonna come up with this. For example, the bread, I can call it the raw toast, right? So bird leaf, right? So this could be a good name. And just see the for example, this tissue papers can be called sneeze paper, right? So it's unique. I mean, if you're gonna name it as a tissue paper product, no, I mean, it's not gonna be the tissue paper. If you say, okay, we have a software called sneeze paper. I do remember few of my students came down and said, we got popular with the name called khichdi, right? So the reason being, there are a lot of mess ups in the companies actually, which is generating a lot of revenues for them, right? So we generally try to reduce the mess ups, but my student has tried creating mess ups among the uh, people around in the company. That's where they are earning actually. So that's why they name it as a khichdi, and it has got popular, and it is very easy to remember. Next time, when you interact with me, you say, your student had a startup called khichdi. I won't be surprised because it's an easy to remember, and also you know the concept very well, and you would remember the concept, not just the name. And then you have a ice cubes kind of a business. You call it the water with the corners. I mean, these kind of things actually that you call your own. So let's say you're coming up with some notification kind of a thing, okay, and you have come up with a software which notifies you some special stuff. That's called space screen, right? So its name could be a space screen, or you might come up. These are two words kind of a thing. Two words are connected to come up with a full, I mean, meaningful word. But still, you can come with a single word, which is an alternative name might be. But the crazy, it should be crazy kind of a thing. That's what I wanted to discuss. And if anyone has any query, okay. If any one of you has some query about what we have discussed about today, you're welcome. Otherwise, I'm done for today. Shubhangi, can you take over? I finished on time. You asked me to be finish it up at 6:45.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for such an informative discussion. I'm sure everyone got to learn a lot today. For me, I am for sure scrolling through Instagram would never be the same for me. While casually scrolling through Instagram, all of this would come to me. Like now, I know the strategies, the reasons behind everything. So
Right.
thanks a lot. And now I would like to ask for the questions. Like if anyone has any questions, please drop in the chat box below. So for the time being, we have a few questions which were asked by community for you exclusively on a community platform. So let's begin
Okay.
with that. So the first question is, how easy is transition from front end to back end developer generally?
Uh, if let us say you are a strategist, right? So you have to just strategize it, right? So first thing is, let us say you are a front end developer and you want to switch over to the and you are a creative thinker, right? So what goes in mind? When you learn front end, you have to learn it along the uh, back end. So it's not going to happen in Xylo, right? So you need to do it both together. So most of my team members, when I even recruit front end developers, I have to say you should have a little bit of knowledge of the back end as well, right? So then transition also is like when you know the concept that what you're gonna implement, right? So you know which component need to be disturbed, right? So otherwise rest of the things you can just do it in a regular way, and then the backend and learning the regular things are very easy, right? So lekin if you're gonna implement something in a creative way at the back end, so I would prefer rather than transitioning it from front end to back end, I would say, if you're good in back end and have a little knowledge of the front end, then I would prefer that guy. So you need to manage the team rather than, asking front end person to transit to the back end until and unless this is a extra emergency, ultra emergency that I do have one person only. I would take one more month to hire the backend person, right? Or I might not have one team. I have team members who are good. It happened to us actually. We had a team members who were good in front end, but they were not good in back end. It happens. I understand that, right? At least for people who are appearing for the hackathons, you would find less people from the back end side. But then if you when you are learning front end and you start doing all these creative thinking and start getting it in an interesting manner when you're learning the front end, you start also getting into the back end, right? So if you're comfortable with, let us say, JavaScript, you start learning JavaScript. Might not use React, I understand. You might not implement completely the MERN stack, but you can use some other technologies or tools which are available for the back end, which are where you start feeling comfortable actually, right? So most of the people takes it like, I know Python but I don't know JS, and then how would I code into the back end? So this is like what we know. My perspective is, until it is necessity, you should not do it. If it is a necessity and you have to do it, so you have to make a habit that when you are doing anything on the front end, you start getting it related with the back end as well.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, some good resource for full stack development. What would you suggest?
I've said, I'm not gonna say anything about this. The reason being, I don't want to bound anyone. I don't want to bind anyone. Uh, by let us say, if I say something today, that happens actually when I go to any community. When I go to the TV and say something, people would start implementing the same thing rather than trying to think little creative. I would say, people would say that, okay, let's say in a full stack, I would say try. Uh, I'm going to give you an insight actually. So let us say, one of our product was using MongoDB actually. Then, I said, I'm a little conventional guy, understand SQL well. I said, there might be some advantages with the SQL. I asked them to, it was a MERN stack actually, right? So, they said, okay, we are using MongoDB. I said, rest of the things can be the same, but can I use SQL in the place of the MongoDB? And I found out the overall experience was website got much faster actually. So these kind of things can be tried. You can try different combos of the different components. For example, you're a front end person using React JS, for example, and then you started thinking, okay, React.js is doing good, but creating some issues, might be some challenges faced. So you might have to switch over to the HTML, CSS. So these kind of a research, what is the best combo? For example, MERN was a one combo. You know the other combo is MEAN. There could be a third combo, which might be a good way in a special case. You should know in which case MERN performs well, in which case mean performs well, in which case the conventional stacks perform well.
Okay, sir. So the next question is which to choose, React or Vue, according to you?
Which one? Which one? Sorry.
Sir, which to choose, React or Vue? React.js or Vue.js?
I would use React.
Okay. So any explanation like why would you prefer that?
Uh, my front end developer said that React is better, so I'll go with that actually.
Okay,
So
sir. So the
yes.
next question is how can we integrate IoT project in web development project?
IoT development project into the web development. So
Yes.
what I would say is, if you know the database management well, data structure, database management, right, and use of APIs, right, you can integrate IoT with web-based projects. The simplest and the best way is use of APIs. You should know how to get up with the APIs, or you should know how to use Express if you're using MERN stack, right? Then you can do it very easily. And you
Okay.
should have a good command on network programming as well.
Sure, sir. So the last question for the day, what are the latest technology advancement in the field of web development?
Latest technologies advancement. You should start thinking in a reverse way. People have started thinking in a reverse way. So let us say, when you talk about, there are two type of things. One is a library, the other is a framework, right? So React is a library, for example, and the Angular is a framework, right? So where you can drag and drop kind of a stuff, right? People are moving towards the framework kind of a stuff. So, I mean, where you have a platform kind of a thing, rather than just have to script it, write long codes. Actually, in our time, people were writing long codes and writing the same things again and again. So you should start your code with first line, second line, third line. We are writing the same code. Sometimes you forget to, I mean, mention the comma, colon, something, semicolon, right? And you miss out. You get a lot of. You have to. You cannot focus on your product creativity. Rather, you have to focus on correcting the synthesis, right? So now people are moving towards this. So I do see a lot of. I mean, in database management as well. I would see in the future, web development would be easier, because might have platform based tools actually, which would easily be available very soon. And then IoT is connected, not just connected to web, is get connected to human reactive bodies. I mean, it's like how do you react would depend on what input you are receiving from, like emotions we are receiving automatically, right? And your heart start pumping accordingly, right? So the kind of the mental health problems we are going with, we would soon see, that machine is getting sensing that your mind is getting some problems, and then you get some stimuli that through some website you might have, you might be using some website, and that would sense your mood, and then gonna perform like the same way. For example, you are in hurry, right? And you want, let's say you are very depressed, and you say, okay, I want to see, I am suffering with X disease, and I want to see how severe the disease could be. And you start exploring the Google, right? And as soon as you type in the Google, your typing pattern says, how you might be feeling, right? And then someday, that website hides some data from you, or a particular website hides some data from you. Rather, it gives you a data which is at that particular time, I mean, is relevant to you, and is optimized for you. So there, I do see the advancements of web developers updating.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions very patiently. So I would like to also tell you that we are having a lot of comments. So Mukul Goyal writes, excited for the session. So very great session. So your examples are
He's my
very
front
easy
end
to
developer
understand.
actually.
Sorry, sir.
He's my front end developer, so that's
Oh,
why he's
I was not
writing.
aware. That's why he's going on.
Yeah, so he knows
But
about
I
Kitchener.
totally agree with him, sir. I'm totally in agreement with him. So Yash Madan also says great session. So also we have a few questions on your khichdi idea. Shirvi Verma writes, can you please
Okay.
explain more about khichdi?
I'll do it some other day. I mean, I'll explain about it some other day.
Sure, sir, sure. So again, sir, thank you very much for answering all the
Thank you.
questions very patiently. And I would
Yeah.
also like to thank everyone who joined us today. And for more information, you can visit the link showing in the banner, where you will find everything related to our upcoming webinars, workshops, meetups, etc. You can also join us on Discord. Just say hi in the welcome chat ad, and we will bring you right in. You can also follow the Hack the Mountains page on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, whose details are shown below. The Hack the Mountains 3.0 hackathon is held at the Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies from 17th to 18th of September 2022. We hope to see you all there. Now, coming to the close, Dr. Saluja, would you like to put on some final comments?
Did you say something?
So, I was just asking you any final comments since now we are concluding.
So I would say, I would like to see a lot of innovations coming up after looking at this video. I know, I mean, there were not much of the participants in the live session, but I might see, some people who are, watching it later, and then, coming up with a lot of innovations. Actually, it might, tell me, I would feel happy, if I get to know that, this innovation was triggered by me.
Yes. So, thank you, sir, and thank you, everyone who joined with us
Thank you.
today. This session ends here, but stay tuned for more such informative and interesting sessions. Reminding you again, the Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn handles are shown below. Please follow us there and stay tuned. Thank you.